People ask me all the time, what do occupational therapists do in the schools? And so what I have come to tell people that I find is most helpful for them and the most easiest to understand, I usually tell them that as a kid or as a student, your job is to go to school and to learn. So our job as occupational therapists is to help them be a successful student. Whatever that may be, we want them to be as efficient and, functioning in the classroom as optimally as possible so that they're able to learn. Like, that is what they're there for. So whether that be providing different strategies or equipment to help them learn in the classroom, we can do that. Or if they're struggling with their fine motor skills for writing, we're going to help them with that, because those are all academic based that are going to help them be the best student that they can be. So my day starts pretty early in the morning, around 7:15. So I'll usually arrive at whatever school I'm going to be starting at that day. And on an easy day, I usually will see 2 to 3 kids directly, where I pull them out of the classroom or go into the classroom and work with them. On a busy day, I see up to 10 kids a day directly. So I'm working one-on-one with those kids, or in a very small group, maybe 2 students at a time. Before that, I'm usually prepping for what we're going to do that day, getting things ready to work with the kids based on whatever goals we're trying to accomplish. And then our sessions last anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes usually, if I'm working with them one-on-one. And if I'm not seeing students directly, I'm either working on documentation and billing things, or I'm doing consultative services with a student's teacher or their teacher of record, or checking in on them to see how they're doing in the classroom. At this time of year, we also have a lot of annual case conferences. So I've spent a lot of time going to conferences in the past month or so. So we kind of have to work that into our schedule, where we all go to the annual case conference and discuss the students' present levels and whether or not we're going to continue on with therapy next year. So we kind of give our side of how they're doing and see if they're ready to either be dismissed from OT or if we're going to continue on to progress towards future goals. And then if we have any evaluations or screenings to complete, we have to work that into our schedule too. So if you have space between kiddos, then you can usually complete an evaluation in that time. So you can do preparation and things like that as well. I don't really have a problem with work-life balance in this job specifically, because I go to work, I usually have enough time to get everything done throughout the day. If I don't, I have time to finish it like later that week. I've never had to really take anything home with me, so to speak, which has been great, because transitioning out from student life, you take everything home with you. Once you leave school, you go home and do homework. Here, I have not really had to do that. I usually can complete everything I need to during work hours, which has been really nice. And we also have a lot of scheduled breaks. So like during Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, spring break, things like that, you have time to catch up on things if you need to. But really, work-life balance hasn't been an issue, which is great for me. I've loved everything about this setting so far. Yeah, so right now I think I have about 75 kids on my caseload, and my age range is pretty big. I'd say my youngest are preschoolers, so they start at 3. So as soon as they turn 3, they come to preschool and are eligible for OT. And then I have up to middle schoolers, so about 14 years old. And I have a good mix of all of them, I would say. I love that I can work with little kids one morning and then be with middle schoolers in the afternoon. So I kind of get like a good mix of ages, I would say. Diagnoses wise, really, you can see just about anything, because all kids come to school. So I think on my caseload, I have a lot of kids with ASD, or ADHD is a very common thing that we see in the classroom. I've got some kiddos who have Down syndrome, muscular dystrophy, CP, things like that. So you kind of see some of those in the classroom as well. But I would say a lot of the deficits that we see or focus on are usually fine motor, visual motor, or sensory based. So those are kind of the 3 most common things that I say we would focus on in the schools. But really, you see so much and a very big variety of things at school, which is really helpful and is really good to see. But you're also focusing in and learning a lot yourself, because you're kind of constantly like working on different things, which is nice. You'll kind of review what they're being evaluated for, look at the concerns, and then you'll determine like what assessment you're going to do, what things you need to bring with you. And then as part of our evaluation process, we always complete an observation too. So you'll go into the classroom, watch them in their natural environment, see how they're doing, I like to go before they know who I am, so before I do the evaluation, I just kind of go in. I take note of everything, I write things down, talk to the teacher, and then I'll do the evaluation with the kid too, so I kind of get a glimpse of what they're like in the classroom, and then you'll get a closer look at like whatever skills you're trying to look at to see if there's any deficits there or if they need any extra support. So we have a couple different assessments that we use. I've used the Beery VMI before. I've used the BOT2 many times. The Bergantz I use a lot for our younger kids. And then we use the sensory processing measure, and I've used the sensory profile too. I think those are the most common ones that I've used so far this year. These are just some of the things that I've used this week, so these are some of the things that I'll show you. A lot of kids we work on hand strengthening with, like a lot of times they'll have low muscle tone, or they're just very, like they get fatigued very easily, so we work on strengthening. This week I've been focusing on St. Patrick's Day theme, and so I had like a little pot of gold, and I was having them use clothespins to kind of pinch things up and pick up and put into the pot of gold, so just kind of some of those smaller finger stuff. They also love putty. All kids have loved putty, so I've hidden all kinds of treasures into putty and asked them to find all the different treasures, and sometimes I'll have them count and like make it a race, like, hey, we found 5 this time, let's see if we can find 6 or 7. So they love putty. That's been really good. Sometimes they're kind of unsure about it, or they're like, they don't know how much strength to apply, and they're like, I can't do it. But the more that they practice, they love it, and then they ask for it. So that's been kind of fun to see too. Hole punching has been a good one too. Strength-wise, some kids are really good at it, and others can't do it at all. And so we've really been focusing on doing strengthening with that. Scissors, we use scissors a lot. I like to do a lot of crafts because that has a lot of good fine motor. You can do a lot of fine motor and visual motor stuff with crafts. So I will disguise some of the things that we're working on through some kind of craft project. So we use scissors a lot, and then for my kids who struggle with like actually using real scissors, we use loop scissors sometimes so that they can squeeze it. It's just a lot easier. You don't have to apply as much strength and force. So those come in quite handy for some of our younger kiddos. We do a lot of writing in the class, or they do a lot of writing in the classroom, so a lot of what we focus on sometimes is helping them to be able to write more efficiently. This is a fun little guy. It's called a twist and write pencil. A lot of kids love it. Our kids who like will fist pencils, they tend to like this one because they can put their finger on it, and that kind of gets that placement of where they should be at. So this is a fun one. A lot of kids love to use this one. But I also have tons of little grippers. This is just a sensory gripper for the kids who like sensory stuff but don't necessarily like to write. This has kind of been a motivating component for them. And then we have all kinds of different positioning grippers. So like this one, you'll put the pencil in and then you'll place your fingers, and that helps them to be able to maintain like a digital grasp as opposed to kind of fisting it, which is something we see a lot. And then I've got all kinds of other fun little grippers. I usually have kids try different ones out, and then they're pretty good about telling you like which ones they like and which ones are the most helpful. So I use a lot of pencil grippers. And then I also love teardrop shaped crayons, or any kind of broken small crayon, because kids can't fist it because it's so small, so it forces them to use their fingers. So I love small crayons. I love broken crayons, and teardrop crayons, I use them all the time, and the kids love them too because they think that they're fun. So that's always nice. And then one of my favorite things that I use a lot, it's just like an ink roller, but it's like 3-lined paper, so it gives kids 3 lines, so if they need extra visuals for writing, this I can roll onto just about anything. So I can put it on their worksheets, I can put it on their craft projects, I can put it anywhere as a good visual support, and kids respond really well to that, and they love this thing. They're like, can I try? So if they write something really well, I'm like, all right, now you try, you roll and you write, and then they get excited about that too. So that makes it all the more fun. I've had a lot of memorable things, but I think one of my favorite memories so far this year is I had a student flag me down in the hallway, and they were like, Miss Mary, look what I did. And they had written their name, which was something that we were working on during our OT sessions, and they were so proud of themselves, and I was super happy too. So it's also been really nice to see like students carry things over in the classroom and then have their teachers come back and like tell me like how well they're doing. And that just makes me smile too, because I'm like, oh yes, they're actually learning something and applying it outside of what we do like one-on-one. So those have been some of my favorite memories too, just to see them like be excited about them like for themselves and their progress so far. I would say is that you get to see a good variety of diagnoses, skill sets, deficits, problems, all kinds of things. I really have been immersed in different ages, different, backgrounds, different skill sets, like all of those things. You kind of see like during your fieldwork rotations too, but it's really nice to see it kind of applied again in different settings. And one thing I like about this setting is that there is like different programs within the schools where kids are placed basically based on what they need to be successful, the supports that they need. And so you kind of get to see all of that. You get to see what really helps them, and then you can apply some of that to other kids too, because a lot of kids will benefit from the same things, but they're also all different. So you learn a lot about how you can tweak things to kind of make it individualized for them specifically. I would say is something that I really think is unique and that I like about this setting. My biggest piece of advice would probably be to either try and get like a fieldwork placement in the school setting, or do like a capstone project where you're involved with the school setting, because then you really get a glimpse of what goes on and what you like or don't like about that setting. And you do learn a little bit about it like when you're an OT student, but to see it in real life, you learn so much more just by being immersed in it. So I would really encourage students to kind of reach out and find somebody to like do an interview with, to shadow, to ask if they could be a mentor for you, or just be involved somehow, whether it be through fieldwork or capstone, just so you can kind of get your hands in and get involved and see if it's something that you really want to pursue in the future.